Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're setting aside the familiar. We're leaving the easy and the comfortable behind and traveling to, I think, one of the most exclusive, mysterious, and logistically challenging destinations in the entire Southeast Asian archipelago.
That is the perfect way to put it. This isn't just a holiday spot. It's a test, almost. A test of your commitment as a traveler.
A test. How so?
Well, we're talking about a place that absolutely demands preparation. It often requires, frankly, extraordinary expense. And it forces a real mindset shift away from what we think of as mainstream tourism.
Yeah.
Just to even step onto its shores.
So this is our deep dive into the raw beauty, the ancient culture, and the operational secrets of Sumba, Indonesia.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, Sumba. For so many of our listeners, I think when you say Indonesia, the image that just flashes into your mind is Bali.
Instantly.
Right. You think of that smooth tourism infrastructure, the crowded white sand beaches, yoga retreats, easy flights.
Bintang singlets and smoothie bowls.
The endless bintang singlets and smoothie bowls, exactly. We need to just take that entire image and actively erase it from our minds. Because Sumba, from everything I've seen, is its rugged, mysterious antithesis.
It's the complete counterpoint. I mean, it's the anti-Bali in almost every conceivable way. And that contrast, it starts with something as basic as sheer scale and population density.
Okay, so give us the numbers.
Sumba is geographically huge. It's actually twice the landmass of Bali.
Twice the size.
Twice the size. But here's the kicker. It supports less than a sixth of Bali's population.
A sixth.
Less than a sixth. And that one statistic right there is really the key to understanding the entire island. It immediately tells you that what dominates here is massive, untouched space, sheer wildness, not development, not crowds.
And when you look at the pictures, I mean, the imagery is cinematic. It feels like it's been transplanted from another continent entirely.
It does.
You see these images of wild indigenous horses just roaming free across these vast rolling savannas. They look more like the plains of Africa than what you'd expect from tropical Indonesia.
Absolutely. The classic image of Sumba is not a palm-fringed beach. It's a golden savanna.
Then you see these jagged coastlines, and scattered through it all are these traditional villages that are still apparently living by ancient animist rituals. Marapu, I think it's called.
Marapu, that's it. And it sounds profoundly spiritual and elemental because it is.
Elemental, that's a great word for it.
It's the perfect description. But, and this is the huge but, that pristine wildness, that cultural exclusivity, the very things that make Sumba so unique, they come at a heavy cost.
Both in terms of effort and, let's be honest, money.
A lot of money. Sumba is home to some of the most luxurious and, frankly, unbelievably expensive resorts on the planet. The titan of this whole movement is a place called Nihi Sumba.
I've heard of it. It's always topping those world's best lists.
Consistently. But then you step just 1 foot outside that beautifully manicured perimeter of the resort, and the infrastructure is, it's profoundly limited. The word everyone uses is developing.
And that right there, that's the core tension we really need to explore, isn't it? A stay at a place like Nihi Sumba can famously cost, and I'm quoting here, more than a decent car.
And they're not talking about a used car.
No. We're talking about prices that are they're unimaginable for most travelers. So I think our mission today is really to figure out if this remote, exceptionally costly island with its very real and very difficult logistical demands, is it genuinely worth the extraordinary effort? Is it worth the financial investment to experience its unique, untamed magic?
I think the most fascinating thing we found in the research is that Sumba operates as its own inherent filter. The island itself filters out people.
What do you mean by that?
The difficulty of access, the extreme cost. It all automatically screens out the casual tourist. The fly-by-night traveler just isn't going to end up here by accident.
So anyone who makes it has already made a conscious decision.
A huge one. It ensures that those who arrive have already made a significant financial and, I think, intellectual commitment to being there. It is inherently a destination for travelers seeking, as Nihi's tagline goes, the edge of wildness. And you have to actively, consciously choose to step off the easy path to find it.
That commitment starts with the journey itself. If Sumba is filtering out the casual traveler, then yeah, it's doing a fantastic job with its logistics. So what does the essential roadmap look like? What level of preparation do you absolutely need to make sure you don't get stranded halfway?
The preparation is paramount.
Yeah.
It really is. And it starts with understanding a basic fact. Sumba is not an international destination.
What?
You can't just fly there direct.
Right. There's no Sumba International Airport.
No. The journey almost always has to begin in Bali. You fly into Denpasar, or DPS, and from there, you have to shift to a domestic flight to get to Sumba itself. So you're already adding a required transfer and several hours to your total travel time.
So no direct connections from, say, Singapore or Australia. That alone eliminates the simple hop-in holiday option.
Okay, so once you're in Bali, ready to go domestic, which airport on Sumba are you even targeting?
This is a crucial choice. You have two primary gateways, and they serve the island's two distinct halves. You've got Tambolaka, airport code TMC, which is in West Sumba, and then there's Waingapu, WGP, which serves East Sumba.
And is there a clear winner for a first-timer? Or for someone looking for that, that iconic Sumba experience they've seen in the photos?
For most people, yes. Tambolaka in the west is generally the recommended gateway.
Why there?
It provides the most accessible route to the famous high-end resorts, like Nihi. But more importantly, it offers easier access to the most famous traditional cultural villages and some of the most recognized natural landmarks.
So it's the heart of the action, so to speak.
It is. Waingapu is great if your focus is very specifically on East Sumba's unique savanna landscapes and its really famous ikat weaving culture. But for a general, richer first experience, West Sumba through Tambolaka is the way to go. Okay, so you've booked your ticket to TMC. What about the flight itself? I'm picturing these aren't massive jets, given the remote nature of the island.
No, not at all. You should prepare for a genuine island-hopping adventure feel. While Garuda Indonesia, the national carrier, does operate some routes with smaller jets,
Right.
you'll often be flying with smaller regional carriers like Wings Air. And that very often means propeller planes.
Which is a fact, not a problem, but it's something to be prepared for.
Exactly. It's not a safety issue, but it does mean you should be prepared for more restricted baggage limits. Don't show up with 3 massive suitcases and, potentially a slightly bumpier ride, especially if you're flying in the afternoon when turbulence can pick up over the sea.
It's all part of the authentic, slightly adventurous journey. It's a real shift from the 747s landing in Bali every 5 minutes.
It really is. It signals you're going somewhere different.
Now, we mentioned a logistical golden rule. You stressed that arranging transfers in advance is absolutely non-negotiable. Why is that warning so strict? What's the real danger of just showing up unprepared?
The danger is very real, and it boils down to the total absence of infrastructure for spontaneous transport.
So this is the complete opposite of Bali.
Day and night. In Bali, you walk out of the airport and you're swarmed with options.
Yeah.
Here, there are no regulated Bluebird taxis queuing up outside. Ride-sharing apps like Grab or Gojek, they fundamentally fail.
Why is that? No drivers.
Practically no registered drivers.
Yeah.
And often no consistent GPS or data signal to even facilitate the ride request. The system just doesn't work.
So paint the picture. You land at Tambolaka, you walk out the door, and you haven't pre-booked anything. What are you looking at?
You are likely looking at a fairly desolate, poorly served airport terminal where the only cars you see are private resort transfers waiting for their specific guests. Or maybe a handful of highly unreliable local drivers asking for exorbitant, completely unregulated prices because they know you're stuck.
And you are stuck.
You are. And given that the drive to your accommodation, even to a world-class place like Nihi, can easily take 2 hours.
2 hours.
Easily.
Yeah.
And that's primarily on roads that are often rough, unmarked, and demanding of a high-clearance vehicle. Getting stranded at that airport is a very, very real possibility that can just derail the entire start of your trip. You could lose a whole day just trying to get to your hotel.
And when you say rough roads, you're not just talking about a smooth, paved highway with a few potholes, are you?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We need to set expectations really clearly here. These are not simple country roads. The roads demand patience. They're often pothole-ridden, partially paved, or in many places, just rough dirt tracks.
Especially off the main roads, I imagine.
Especially once you have to veer off the main arteries to reach a remote resort or a traditional village. A trip that looks like, say, 50 kilometers on a map can transform into an unpredictable 2-hour crawl. You're often dodging free-roaming water buffalo, chickens, or navigating around deep monsoon-fed washouts in the road.
Which is exactly why your resort or your homestay has to organize that pickup.
They have to. They use drivers who know the specific, rugged routes. They know which tracks are passable after last night's rain. And their vehicles are equipped to handle that terrain. It's not a job for a standard sedan.
That level of logistical challenge just immediately raises the bar for the organization required. So, turning to cost, what should you realistically budget for that domestic round-trip flight from Bali?
I'd say you should budget somewhere between 100 and 300 US dollars for the round trip. It depends heavily on the season and how far in advance you book. But honestly, more important than the dollar cost is the pace. You have to factor in island time.
Is island time particularly aggressive in Sumba? I feel like you hear that term everywhere.
It is a real factor here. Travelers frequently, and I mean frequently, report significant delays, flights being postponed by hours or even outright cancellations, particularly with the smaller carriers. It happens.
So what's a critical piece of advice then?
The critical logistical warning is to avoid booking tight connections on your return journey. Absolutely, do not book a flight from Sumba that lands in Bali 2 hours before your international flight home.
That's a recipe for disaster.
A complete disaster.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself a minimum of 6 to 8 hour buffer. Or even better, just plan an overnight stay in Bali before your final departure home. Patience here isn't optional. It is mandatory for a successful trip.
We've survived the bumpy flight, we've navigated that challenging 2-hour transfer across the savannah, and we finally arrived. And now we confront the stark, defining contrast of Sumba, where you sleep. This is, as you said, fundamentally a tale of two Sumbas. The choice of accommodation doesn't just define your comfort level, it seems to define the entire character and even the ethical engagement of your trip.
It's absolutely true. Your decision is almost binary. You either immerse yourself in a perfect, highly filtered, luxurious bubble, or you dive headfirst into the rugged, beautiful, and completely unfiltered reality of the local infrastructure. There's not a lot in between.
Let's start with the Titan. Here's where it gets really interesting and I think critically complex. Tell us more about Nihi Sumba, this resort that really anchors Sumba's global reputation for exclusive adventure and hyper-luxury.
Nihi Sumba, which used to be known as Nihiwatu, isn't just a world-class hotel. You could argue it's a destination in and of itself. People go to Sumba just to go to Nihi.
And it consistently ranks as one of the best hotels in the world. What are they doing right?
They pioneered this concept of barefoot luxury in a profoundly remote location. They've been operating successfully right on what they call the edge of wildness for years.
So describe that physical experience. What makes it worth that extreme price tag?
It's the sheer scale and the intense personalization of the service. Guests stay in these sprawling private villas. They're constructed using beautiful local materials like thatch and wood, but they're equipped with every world-class amenity you can imagine.
So you get the aesthetic without any of the discomfort.
Precisely. You have your own dedicated butler, or guest captain as they call them, private infinity pools that look out over the Indian Ocean. The whole aesthetic is very open air, embracing the rugged environment, but the service is it's flawless. They offer these unique experiences, like a spa safari.
What on earth is a spa safari?
You actually trek or ride on horseback through rice paddies in a small village to a completely secluded private clifftop area where you have unlimited spa treatments for a day in these open-air bales with breakfast cooked over a fire. It's an immersion experience, but with absolutely zero hardship.
But for a certain kind of visitor, the truly exclusive draw relates to surfing, doesn't it? That's the legend.
Yes, that is the core of the legend. Nihi is home to a wave called Aussie's Left, named after the legendary Australian surfer Mark Occhilupo. And this isn't just any wave. It's a phenomenal, fast, perfect left-hand reef break. It's famous for these long, high-quality rides.
And the exclusivity.
That's the crucial part. The resort maintains an intensely exclusive policy. They limit the number of surfers allowed on that wave to just 10 people per day.
Only 10?
Only 10. And they're all guests of the resort. This guarantees a perfect, private, completely uncrowded surfing experience that is. I mean, it's nearly impossible to find anywhere else on the planet for a wave of that quality. You are literally buying exclusivity in its purest form.
That exclusivity is intoxicating, I'm sure. But let's talk about the numbers again, because the price tag is truly staggering. You said stays start well over $1,000 a night.
They do. And those magnificent private estates, the multi-bedroom villas, they can easily climb to $10,000, $15,000, or even $20,000 per night.
Per night. It's hard to get your head around.
It is. But you have to understand, you're paying for ultimate world-class luxury in an environment that requires a massive logistical and resource investment just to maintain those standards. They're importing high-quality ingredients, generating their own reliable power, providing clean water, employing and training hundreds of local staff. The overheads are immense.
Now, this is where we have to pause and challenge the premise. Because the sources all acknowledge that this level of what they call ludicrous vacation spending exists right next door to deep subsistence level poverty. How does the traveler and how does the resort itself bridge that ethical gap? It must be jarring.
It is jarring, and that ethical bridge is the Sumba Foundation. It's an absolutely crucial component of Nihi's entire operation and its brand identity.
What does the foundation do?
It was founded by the resort's original owner and is heavily supported by the resort and its guests. It works tirelessly on the ground in the local communities to combat malaria, to provide clean water by digging wells, to build schools, and to fund medical clinics for the local Sambanese population.
But how does that engagement translate into the actual guest experience? Because it's easy for a wealthy guest to just write a check at the end of their stay and feel good about themselves.
And that's the difference here. It's not just a donation box by the front desk. Guests are actively encouraged, and many of them choose, to actually visit the schools the foundation supports. They go to the clean water projects. They visit the local clinics.
So they see it for themselves.
They see it. They see where the money is going. This integration provides a form of, I guess, ethical accountability. It allows guests to feel that their huge vacation spend is directly contributing to improving the severe quality of life challenges for the local Sambanese people. It makes the philanthropy tangible, and it helps mitigate that visual and moral tension.
So it's not just an afterthought. It forces the guest to witness the reality of the impact, creating a necessary bridge between the extreme wealth that's visiting and the traditional subsistence living just beyond the resort gates.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's step outside the $10,000 villa. What are the mid-tier options for someone who still wants comfort and a connection to community, but maybe doesn't need a private butler?
There are some excellent options that really prioritize sustainable practices and community impact. A fantastic example is a place called Nihi Sumba.
What's their model?
It operates as a hotel school. So your stay in a beautiful, comfortable setting is directly funding and helping to train local Sambanese students in the hospitality industry. You're literally helping to build local capacity and create careers for young people. It's a wonderful model.
That sounds fantastic. Comfort with purpose.
Exactly. There's also Luluwatu Resort, which offers a very high-end contemporary vibe and services. It's still very much a luxury property, but generally at a price point that's a bit more attainable than the legendary Nihi.
And finally, let's go to the other extreme. For the true deep dive, the authentic, rugged experience, what is the practical reality of choosing a Sumba homestay?
If you are seeking total unvarnished immersion, you'll find homestays typically near the main towns like Waingapu or Waingapu, or sometimes deep inside a traditional village. But you must, and I can't stress this enough, you must adjust your mindset drastically.
This is not pampered travel.
This is the polar opposite of pampered travel. You should expect the extremes of simplicity. We're talking about a simple mattress on the floor, potentially no electricity, or electricity for only a few hours a day, almost certainly no hot water, and a shared, very basic bathroom, which is sometimes just a traditional mandi or bucket shower.
So this choice is a real commitment.
It's a commitment to true engagement. You're prioritizing a raw cultural connection and experiencing local simplicity over any form of conventional pampering.
So the accommodation choice really is, as you said, a binary decision. It sets the character of your entire trip. Either extreme, secluded luxury supported by powerful philanthropy, or extreme, rugged authenticity supported by patience and humility.
The level of isolation that defines your accommodation choice, that naturally raises the question of, well, what do you eat? How does that isolation and the climate impact the local food scene? We have navigated the logistics, we've chosen our comfort level. Now let's talk about sustenance. Does Sumba's ruggedness extend to its cuisine?
I think I have to deliver the honest verdict on this one, and it's a critical point for managing expectations. Sumba is definitively not a foodie destination.
Right.
Not in the way that Bali or Java or even parts of Sumatra are. It's just not.
That's surprising, given Indonesia's generally incredibly rich and diverse culinary reputation. What explains the dramatic difference here?
The environment is the primary factor. It really all boils down to the land itself. Sumba has a semi-arid savanna climate. It's very different from the highly fertile volcanic soil you find in Java or Bali.
So a harsher landscape.
Much harsher. The dry season is long and intense, and so the variety of fresh produce and ingredients that are available locally is naturally very limited. Outside of those luxury resorts, the local diet is simple and functional. The focus is purely on sustenance, not on elaborate gastronomy.
Okay, so if you're traveling outside that sophisticated resort bubble, staying in a homestay or a simple guest house, What are the daily staples a traveler should realistically expect to eat?
The reliable staples will be grilled or fried fish, which is usually excellent and fresh, rice, of course, and simple boiled vegetables. Sometimes you'll get cassava or corn, which grow better in the drier conditions than rice does. And it's very localized, I imagine.
Extremely localized and completely non-commercialized. If you're staying in a local village or a homestay, you eat exactly what the family eats. There are no menu choices. You will not find a strip of trendy cafes, no food stalls serving dozens of highly spiced, complex dishes, and no warongs offering international fare like you would in Bali. That just doesn't exist.
Which means that the entire experience of high-end, international standard, beautifully crafted gourmet meals, that is strictly confined to the top-tier resorts.
Absolutely. They have to operate outside the local supply chain. They are importing high-quality ingredients, often flying them in from Bali or even from abroad, and they employ world-class chefs to maintain that global standard. They're essentially creating a self-contained culinary bubble.
Right. But on the other hand, if you are deeply immersed in the local culture, the culinary highlights are found in that purity and simplicity.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the aroma and the taste of a freshly caught fish, seasoned with maybe just a bit of salt and lime, grilled right there on the beach over glowing coconut husks. That's an incredible experience. It's authentic, but your dining options will remain very limited and, to be honest, probably quite repetitive.
So, beyond the limitations of the diet itself, are there any unique cultural staples or social customs related to food or ritual that a prepared traveler absolutely has to know about?
Yes, there is one profoundly important cultural staple that is tied very heavily to social ritual, and that is the betel nut, or siri pinang, as it's known locally.
You see this all over Southeast Asia, but it seems particularly central in Sumba.
It is ubiquitous and absolutely central to the local culture.
So, for listeners who might not be familiar, what is the betel nut physiologically, and why is it so important for social interaction?
The betel nut is the seed of the areca palm. It's chewed with a pinch of lime powder, which is made from crushed seashells, and it's wrapped in a fresh betel leaf. And when you chew this combination, it acts as a mild stimulant. It's a sort of natural, gentle caffeine boost.
And it has a very distinctive look.
It does. You will see many older Sumbinese people, both men and women, chewing it throughout the day. It has the highly distinctive visual effect of staining the teeth and saliva a deep, vibrant red color. But this isn't just a habit, like smoking. It is a crucial social lubricant.
So, how does a traveler engage with this ritual respectfully? Because you're going to encounter it.
Understanding the etiquette is absolutely vital. Offering betel nut as a gift is a profound sign of respect. It's a traditional welcome, and it's the primary way to break the ice when you're visiting traditional villages.
So, it's more than just a snack, it's a formal greeting.
It's a formal gesture. When you're invited into a village elder's home, they will often offer it to you as a sign of hospitality and acceptance. Now, politely declining is perfectly fine. No one will be offended. But understanding its significance, that it represents the opening of conversation, of friendship, of trust, that is non-negotiable, it's an immediate visual marker of Sumba's unique social landscape.
We've covered the logistics, the luxury contrast, and the simple sustenance. Now we finally arrive at the core justification for enduring all of those hurdles. The profound culture, the deep spirituality, and the untamed nature that makes Sumba a truly unique destination on this planet.
This is it. This is the reward. This is what travelers come for.
Yeah.
And the culture of Sumba, I mean, it really is the main event. It's dominated by the Marapu animist religion.
And this is a belief system that predates the widespread arrival of Christianity and Islam on the island.
By centuries. It's a belief system that is fiercely preserved, and it's deeply centered on ancestor worship and the spiritual interconnection of the living and the dead.
So what does that Marapu influence actually look like in daily life for the Sumbanese?
It means that ancestors are not just, fondly remembered. They are actively considered part of the current family structure. They serve as powerful guides, protectors, and mediators with the spirit world.
So their presence influences everything.
Everything. Every major decision, from planting cycles for the crops to marriage proposals to the construction of a new house, the spiritual realm and the physical realm are not separate. They are deeply and inextricably integrated. And that's what gives Sumba that quiet, intense spiritual weight you feel in the air.
And the most stunning, ancient physical manifestation of this ancestor worship are those megalithic tombs we mentioned earlier. What makes them so imposing when you see them in person?
They are just magnificent feats of engineering and devotion. You're looking at massive, hand-carved stone slabs, often weighing several tons each, that serve as the graves for noble families and local royalty.
But crucially, they're not hidden away in some silent cemetery on the edge of town.
No, not at all. That's what's so powerful. You find them right in the center of the traditional villages. They're often directly under the family homes or right there in the main village square where children are playing. The dead are literally and figuratively at the center of the community.
That must create this incredible feeling of stumbling onto a living museum. How on earth did they move these massive stones?
With extraordinary communal effort. The sources describe a process that sometimes required hundreds of people from the village and surrounding areas, dragging these massive stones from a quarry, sometimes miles away, using enormous ropes and wooden levers. The process of moving the stone itself becomes a major social and spiritual ritual.
And the labor involved signifies the status of the family.
Exactly. The status and power of the family being honored. Their presence makes every village feel instantly ancient and timeless. It gives you, as a traveler, a sense of profound continuity with the past.
And to really immerse yourself in this, you have to visit the traditional villages like Praijing in the west or Ratangaro on the coast. What defines the architectural spectacle of these places?
The houses themselves are architectural marvels, and they're deeply symbolic of the Marapu belief system. They feature these incredibly towering, distinctive, pointed thatched roofs. Some of them reach up to 30 feet high. It's an astonishing sight.
And that isn't just for aesthetics, right? There's a deep significance to the height and shape.
The very deep significance. The houses are traditionally divided into three symbolic sections. The bottom level, under the floor, is for livestock and for making offerings. The middle, where the living occupy their space. And then that incredible height of the roof serves as the upper world, the sacred residence of the ancestors and the spirits.
So the roof is a physical connection to the spiritual world.
It's a symbolic ladder. The towering roof symbolizes that vital connection between the human world and the spirit world, ensuring the guidance of the ancestors remains close to the living. When you see a village like Ratangaro with this line of towering roofs set against the backdrop of the ocean, it is visually breathtaking and spiritually charged. But, and this is a big play but to bridge that cultural gap, proper etiquette is absolutely essential when you visit these villages. You cannot just wander in and treat them like a tourist site.
That's critical. I'm assuming the need for a local guide is primarily about language, but it sounds like it extends far beyond simple translation.
It does. A local guide is your indispensable translator, yes, but they're also your mediator and your cultural bridge. They ensure you follow the crucial protocol, because when you enter a traditional village, you are entering someone's home and their private communal space. This includes the important ritual of tamu, or gift-giving.
Tell us about that required gesture. What should a traveler bring?
The protocol requires presenting a small, respectful gift to the village elder or the head of the family whose home you're visiting. And this is not a payment for entry. It's a sign of acknowledgement and respect.
And what's appropriate?
Typically, something simple and practical is best. Sugar, coffee, tobacco, or the highly prized betel nuts we talked about. This gesture formally acknowledges your status as a guest, and it demonstrates that you respect their ancient traditions and are not simply there to view and exhibit. Your guide facilitates this exchange, making it smooth and respectful for everyone.
And if your timing aligns perfectly, you might get to witness the Pasola Festival. This sounds like an event that just encapsulates the wild, dangerous, and deeply spiritual core of Sumba.
The Pasola is one of the world's truly rare and raw ritualistic spectacles. It's a ritual battle, and it's typically tied to the planting or the harvest cycle. It's governed by the lunar calendar and the arrival of a certain sea worm, which makes it very difficult to predict far in advance.
Describe the action. I understand it involves mounted combat, which sounds incredible.
It is intensely visceral. Two large teams of men, often from opposing villages or districts, mount these small, sturdy Sumba horses. And they engage in this thrilling, high-speed battle where they throw blunt-tipped wooden spears at each other.
It sounds wild and chaotic.
It is. It's often chaotic, and it is genuinely dangerous. Injuries are common. But the underlying profound belief is that the blood that is spilled during this contest is necessary to fertilize the land. It's an offering that ensures a good harvest and the blessing of the ancestors.
Wow.
It speaks directly to that raw, visceral connection the Merpul culture maintains with nature and the cycles of life and death. You absolutely need a trusted local guide for this event, both for your own safety and for your comprehension of what you're witnessing.
Moving from the intensity of the culture to the sheer scale of the landscape. The raw, untamed nature is definitely the co-star of the Sumba experience. It's what justifies that long journey.
Absolutely. The landscapes are the antithesis of the crowded tropics. They feel vast, empty, and just powerfully wild. The scale is humbling. In the dry season, the rolling savannas turn this golden brown, and they really do resemble the African plains. Then, in the wet season, they are this intensely vibrant green. This duality defines the elemental nature of the island.
So what are the must-see natural features a traveler should prioritize? Specifically, let's talk about the island's famous waterfalls.
Limpopo Waterfall is probably the most accessible and one of the most beautiful. It's a very wide, tiered cascade. It's almost like steps that the water flows down, and it culminates in this clear, deep pool that is just excellent for swimming. The water is cool and deeply refreshing, which is a true oasis after a long, hot, dusty drive across the island's interior.
And what about something a bit more unique, the kind of natural wonder that requires a real trek to get to?
Though it'd have to be Tengadu. It's often nicknamed the Blue Canyon of Sumba, and it requires a significant trek to reach it. You're traversing winding riverbeds and some pretty challenging terrain.
But the reward is worth it.
The reward is immense. You arrive at this gorge that's been carved by water over millennia into these smooth, often vibrant blue-white rock formations. It's a kind of geological beauty that is truly unique to Sumba, and it feels completely removed from the tropical world.
And the coastlines sound legendary. Wild, empty, perfect for sunset viewing, a world away from the Bali bustle.
They are on another level of raw beauty. A place called Walakiri Beach, which is near Waingapu in East Sumba, is famous globally, not just for its emptiness, but for its very unusual population of dancing mangrove trees.
Dancing mangroves.
That's what they call them. They're these gnarled, small mangrove trees that grow right in the tidal flats, and their shapes create these bizarre, fantastic silhouettes, especially at sunset when the light hits them just right. It is a photographer's absolute dream scene.
And for those seeking that perfect cliff-protected cove with impossibly clear turquoise water, that classic postcard shot.
For that, you want Mandoric Beach. It's a small, intimate, pristine little cove, and it's protected on both sides by these massive white rock cliffs. The water quality there is exceptional, crystal clear and a vibrant, vibrant turquoise.
And beyond the famous spots.
Beyond the specific name spots, Sumba offers dozens of uncrowded surf breaks for those who are willing to explore with a guide. And, the simple, profound act of just horseback riding on an empty beach at sunset, that it's consistently cited by travelers as the core, unforgettable Sumba memory. We've established that Sumba is incredibly rewarding, but it's also profoundly challenging. So to maximize that experience, travelers have to heed some very specific, practical warnings about what not to attempt or what not to expect.
I have 3 major warnings that I pulled from the sources, and they all stem directly from the island's scale and its developing infrastructure. The first one is about transport independence. Warning number 1, skip the DIY scooter trip.
This is so vital. And it's where many travelers who are accustomed to places like Lombok or Bali make a very dangerous mistake. While renting a scooter is standard practice and often a great idea elsewhere in Southeast Asia, it is neither safe nor practical in Sumba.
And why is it such a hazard here specifically? What's the difference?
The roads are brutal on a small vehicle. They're rough, they're often unmarked, and the distances are just vast. You can easily go for miles and miles without seeing another village, let alone a petrol station or another vehicle.
So if you break down,
or if you get a flat tire, or if you encounter one of those deep washouts in the interior, you risk getting stranded far from any assistance, likely without a phone signal, for hours. It's simply not worth the risk of injury or getting seriously lost.
the consensus then is to hire a car and a driver. Is this prohibitively expensive, or is it a pragmatic, efficient expense for this particular island?
It is a pragmatic and absolutely essential expense. Hiring a car and a local driver is surprisingly reasonable, especially when you compare it to the total cost of your trip. And it's the only way to safely and efficiently navigate the island.
And the driver provides more than just transport.
So much more. A local driver not only has a durable, high-clearance vehicle, but critically, they possess the local knowledge. They know the terrain, they know how to avoid hazards, and they can communicate with villagers, especially when you're visiting remote cultural sites. They're your guy as much as your driver.
Okay, what's the next thing we should definitely skip searching for in Sumba?
Skip the search for standard tourist nightlife or any kind of extensive shopping opportunities. Sumba simply doesn't have it, and expecting it will only lead to disappointment.
So the main towns, Waikabubak and Waingapu, they're not tourist hubs.
Not at all. They are purely functional local centers. They exist to serve the Sambanese population, not the tourist crowd. So if a traveler is looking for beachfront bars with live music, high-end boutiques, or a strip of international hipster cafes, Sumba is not the place.
Your expectation should be zero.
Set it to 0. There are no clubs, no rowdy bars, and very, very few facilities tailored to Western leisure. The beautiful, singular exception to the shopping rule, however, is the hand-woven ikat textiles.
These textiles are legendary, aren't they? They're an absolute masterpiece of craft.
They are world-renowned. Sumba ikat is incredibly complex. They use natural dyes from roots and leaves, and the weaving techniques are painstaking and labor-intensive. A single piece can often take months, if not years, to complete.
And the designs are deeply symbolic.
Deeply. They often depict animals like horses and crocodiles, or ancestral figures, or traditional symbols from the Marapu religion. They are a key cultural artifact. These are the only must-buy souvenir, and purchasing them directly from the weaving villages is a fantastic way to support the local communities. But beyond those incredible textiles, don't expect standard tourist souvenir shops or malls.
And finally, a warning for our modern, hyper-connected age, which might actually be the toughest hurdle for some travelers: connectivity.
Warning number 3. Skip expecting constant connectivity. Sumba is one of the last places on Earth where you are often forced into a digital detox, whether you intended to have one or not.
So even in the high-end resorts, the Wi-Fi is not a given.
It's spotty at best. Even within the multi-thousand-dollar-a-night resorts, it often requires a restart, or it relies on intermittent satellite connections that can be affected by weather. It's just not stable.
And outside those filtered resort areas, what about your phone's data signal?
Outside of the immediate proximity of the main towns, forget it. Your phone data signal will be incredibly unreliable. It will often drop out entirely for hours at a time while you're driving through the savanna interior. So if you're someone who suffers from connectivity anxiety, or if you absolutely need to be reliably online for work or communication, this is not the destination for you.
It forces a complete, and for some, maybe an uncomfortable break from the digital world.
It does. And travelers really should try to embrace this. That enforced disconnection, however, is often cited by those who successfully navigate the island as one of the most unexpected and powerful rewards of visiting Sumba. It forces you to look up, to look around, and to truly engage with your physical environment rather than your phone screen.
So after we process the wildness, the considerable cost, the logistical hurdles, the deep and powerful culture, and that forced disconnection, what is the overall defining feeling of Sumba? So what does this all mean?
For me, I think the overarching vibe is elemental and ancient.
Mm.
It feels raw. It feels intensely humbling, and at times it can be emotionally heavy.
Heavy in what way?
The spiritual weight of the Marapu culture, seeing those massive silent tombs in the middle of a village, knowing you're witnessing continuous thousand-year-old traditions. It lends the air this quiet intensity that you just don't find in modern developed destinations. You feel small. You feel small against the sheer scale of the untamed landscape, and you feel small against the scale of human history.
And that constant contrast you mentioned must play a huge, jarring role in that feeling. You're constantly navigating two completely separate worlds, sometimes within a few kilometers of each other.
Exactly. The core experience of Sumba involves pivoting, sometimes within the space of a single hour, between the experience of hyper-extreme wealth, like a villa costing $10,000 a night with a dedicated butler, and the profound, beautiful reality of traditional subsistence living in villages that often lack basic amenities like reliable electricity or running water, all sustained by these ancient rituals.
And that juxtaposition is constant. It's unavoidable.
It is. And it absolutely forces a critical reflection on the traveler's own context and privilege. You can't ignore it.
The island asks a tremendous amount of the traveler then. It demands patience, respect, deep observation, and a lot of logistical forethought. What is the ultimate reward for enduring that specific demand?
The reward is a profound and deep sense of genuine discovery. And that is increasingly rare in global travel today. In a world that's so saturated with highly documented, easily accessible destinations, Sumba truly feels like one of the planet's last, best-guarded secrets.
It hasn't been diluted.
It hasn't been diluted. It hasn't been westernized. It hasn't been overrun by mass tourism. It guards its magic very closely. And it only seems to reveal it to those who make that committed effort to understand it.
All right, based on everything we've unpacked, let's deliver the final segmented verdict. We need to break this down based on the specific type of traveler who might be listening.
Agreed. Let's start with the luxury traveler, the person with deep pockets who values comfort, unique exclusivity, and purposeful adventure.
For the luxury traveler, Sumba is an absolute resounding yes. The unique blend of extreme, flawless adventure, that ethical philanthropy channeled through the Sumba Foundation, and the impeccable, unmatched service you'll find at places like Nihi. It makes it one of the most compelling and highest quality travel experiences that money can buy anywhere on the globe. It is worth the staggering expense.
Okay, next up. The rugged budget traveler. This is the prepared adventurer who prioritizes cultural immersion and raw experience far above material comfort.
For them, it's a qualified yes. It is absolutely worth it, only if you are fully prepared for those profound logistical challenges. Only if you're genuinely comfortable with very basic homestay accommodation. We're talking no hot water, bucket showers. And only if your primary motivation is raw nature and deep, authentic cultural immersion. It will test your patience and your assumptions, but the cultural payoff is immense and truly transformative.
And finally, the casual, relaxing tourist. This is the person looking for an easy, well-equipped week away. They're expecting the convenience and the simple pleasures of a place like Bali or Thailand.
That is a definite, unambiguous NO. Sumba is too hard to reach. It's too costly for the level of comfort you receive outside of the high-end resorts. And it fundamentally lacks the expected amenities. The easy transportation, the diverse nightlife, the shopping, and the general convenience that a casual tourist requires. Sumba demands commitment. It does not offer convenience.
So Sumba is not a universal yes. It's a destination for travelers who really want to understand a place, not for tourists who simply want to consume it. It demands effort, it demands humility, and in return, it offers this incomparable experience of a world that feels increasingly rare and perhaps rapidly disappearing.
And that leads us to a final, necessary, and I think provocative thought to end on. Given Sumba's unique and sometimes jarring stark contrast, where this hyper-exclusive tourism sits side by side with ancient village life sustained by animist rituals, how does a traveler ethically and mindfully navigate a destination where the edge of wildness is simultaneously a deeply lived reality for some and a highly marketed luxury product for others? What does this kind of demanding travel ask of you, beyond merely your money or your time?
I think it demands consciousness. It demands appreciation and a commitment to observe and understand the local reality, rather than simply paying to step into a filtered, curated version of it. It asks you to carry the weight of that contrast with humility long after you've left the island.
A profoundly challenging and humbling thought to end on. Thank you for diving deep with us today into the secrets of the island of Sumba.